Welcome back into the Rounding Third podcast. I'm Nick. We have Harrison and Sean with us again tonight. How we doing, fellas?
What's up, boys? How we doing?
Awesome. How you doing, boys?
Doing pretty well. Got a lot of stuff to get to this week, so we're going to jump right in. But first, make sure you follow and like us on Facebook. You can follow on Instagram. You can subscribe on YouTube or listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Usually don't like to bring this guy up because he's talked about all the time, but we have to bring him up because of how he joined the 40-40 club. If you haven't seen it, Shohei Ohtani, walk-off grand slam to join the 40-40 club. This dude is an absolute animal, and what we're seeing is the potential of the all-time greatest player that has ever lived. I'm going to say it right now. I mean, by the time his career's done and what he's doing, he could easily be cemented as the number one player of all time in baseball. Does Shohei Ohtani get to 50-50 this year? That's the next question. Does Shohei get to 50-50?
Yeah, they got how many games? 30-ish? 20, 26? How many games they got left?
Somewhere around that, right? We got a month left.
Yeah, about 30 games, 31 games.
31. So the Dodgers have 31 left?
Yeah, counting tonight.
Counting. Hell yeah, he's going to get it, dude.
Yeah,
Hell yeah. In 30 games, this guy is...
There's no reason he shouldn't.
Unreal. I don't think the home runs are going to be the problem because you can't pitch around him.
No. Absolutely not.
I mean, 30 games where he hits, he's going to be in the...
crazy.
Yeah, he'll be low 50s for home runs. He'll easily probably be low 50s for steals too.
Yeah, I definitely think he gets it, and I don't think it's one of those like dramatic things like we had with Judge that year that he broke with the home runs and he kind of went on a bit of a dry spell and we were like, oh my God, he was jinxed. He's not going to get there. Like yes, he's going to get it. Yes, and I think quite easily.
Yeah. So. We were talking a little bit before we came on, Sean. If he reaches 50-50, is the $700 million worth it already in season one?
Well, I mean, assuming that this type of pace, and I'm not saying he's going to do 50-50 every year, although if anyone could, he probably could. But you start off year one, this guy goes 50-50. And then, it was either Saturday night when the walk-off granny happened, or it was yesterday, but he's thrown on a mound again.
Right.
So it's like, then, if he comes back any semblance and who knows kind of what that's going to look like, what are the Dodgers is it even going to be a long-term thing with him as a pitcher? I mean, who knows? I mean, those are questions that they'll have to answer. But he goes 50-50 and then comes back year two and does 35-35 outside of if he pitches, then already, yes, that's worth it. Assuming you win a World Series. You got to win a World Series. I
agree with that.
Like you're paying this guy $700 million. He's going to do 40-40, likely 50-50. All of that, yes, he's got to bring a World Series.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Mookie released a quote today, said something like, oh, we're all just here to help Shohei carry the team to the promised land or something like that. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was a pretty funny quote. But, I mean, what this guy's doing right now is unreal.
It's unreal, man. It's and it's unfortunate. It's like I feel like this is what baseball is going to be the next handful of years. It's going to be like the Shohei versus Judge show. Like, that's what Major League Baseball is going to turn into. And it's like, it's almost overshadowing in a sense what Judge is doing. Not really overshadowing, but like Judge should be getting like a majority of like the spotlight and the talk. And he's really not because of what Shohei's doing, which is crazy, which is what I feel like baseball is going to be for the next 4 or 5 years. It's just one of them getting the upper hand on the other one and then just the other one trying to take it back the next year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't justify $70 million for a DH. Considering Judge is making $40 million, he's going to hit probably 60 again and play good quality defense. Does a 50-50 DH justify $70 million? No. But if you're the Dodgers, you don't care about the cost if it gets you the World Series. That's really
right.
It's an investment in building a team that not only is he a part of, but it also attracts more people too, so you can go to the World Series. That's what makes
you got to win it, not go.
Yeah, sorry, win the World Series.
Yeah, you got to win it.
Yeah. What do you think the Dodgers' shots are at this moment? I mean, do you have the best offense in baseball?
I mean, if it's not one, it's top three, right?
You don't. I mean, you've got the third or fourth best.
Top three.
So, yeah, you're top. You're 3 or 4, depending on how you measure it.
Yeah. They just got to perform in the playoffs, which has been their Achilles heel. I mean, taking 2020 out of it, obviously, but they have to perform in the playoffs. You can't have Betts and Freeman go, what was it, 0 for 14 in that series against the Diamondbacks. You can't have that. Well, which you do have other players around you now. You have Teoscar, you have Shohei. Oh, right. Yeah. So you have other pieces to help carry if you have a couple guys in there struggling.
The hard part, though, is you've got a guy in Betts who historically struggles in the playoffs. Freeman, who historically struggles in the playoffs. Shohei has never been in the playoffs, so we don't know what that's going to look like. It's there's a big kind of question mark on that offense as to what they'll do in the playoffs, and also how they're going to pitch to him.
Right.
No question. And if they don't get it done, if they get bounced in the DS or the CS or even make to the World Series and then they lose the World Series, we will sit here and say that Shohei's 50-50 season and the $700 million is all well and good, but if you don't bring the trophy home, I mean, like it is what it is. But like, it none of it really matters that much. If you're this is not Shohei with the Angels carrying this team and dragging them anywhere close to a playoff spot, which he didn't do with them last year, by the way. But if he had a 50-50 season with like a terrible baseball team and kept them relevant, then like you'd be like, it doesn't matter. Like, look at what he did. But that is not the case here. This is a really good baseball team that has like World Series aspirations last year, and then the year before that, and you just paid $1 trillion to the greatest player in the world to come put you over the hump. If you have a 50-50 season, get to the postseason, and you guys don't get over the hump, like that's a major fail. And it's not all Shohei's fault, regardless of what he does in the postseason, but it's gonna be linked on him. Like he'll be talked about in that realm, I think.
But can we talk about the fact that with the lineup in front of Shohei, although I guess arguably where he's hitting so far up in the order, he's not getting a lot of benefit from that. 41 home runs, 94 RBIs. Those are that's like a Mike Trout stat line. Like all these home runs, but a lot of like solos. Not driving as many runs. Judge has got 30 more RBIs than he has because he's actually got guys in front of him on base, whereas Shohei's hitting so far up in the order, he's not getting that benefit.
Judge has got guy on base in front of him with Juan Soto.
Well, guy. I mean, there's more chances to get on in front of him, but only one guy consistently does it.
Yeah. All right, let's switch over to Aaron Judge actually right now. So he's sitting at 51 home runs with 30 games left.
Just hits a casual 2 over the weekend against the Rockies, whatever.
I mean, I think I could get up and hit a casual 2 against the Rockies, but that's just me.
The first home run he hit, I thought that ball was going to bounce. I mean, he's hitting whatever he can reach.
Crazy. He needs 12. And with the way he's swinging it, does he break his own record?
I'd love to see it. Like I'm actively rooting for it.
Yes, I'm with you. I mean, I think he's on pace right now to tie it. He's on pace for 62 again, so he's on pace to tie himself. He's got to pick up a bonus 1 or 2 to be able to get there. So I think he's 61, 62. I don't think he'll get a chance to break it because in September they've got some meaningful games against the Orioles and stuff where they're not going to pitch to that guy.
So that's what I was literally just looking up, Harrison, what their schedule looks like for the rest of the year here.
Yeah, and why would you pitch to him down the stretch if you're in a pennant race?
You're insane to pitch to him in September.
This is where, like, I obviously hate the Yankees, but the Yankees, the players around Aaron Judge are in a little bit of control of that. Make them pitch to him. Get on base.
Right.
Work at bats. Get on base. Like, make it hard on them. Make it a difficult decision to say it's 1 out and, 2 on. Are we going to actively load the bases, or like, are we going to pitch to this guy? Like, you guys have a little bit of control over that too. So I'd like to see that, dude. Like, make it a difficult decision. Because I want him to break it. I want him to do it in a dramatic fashion. I want him to do it like Shohei hit the 40th with a walk-off grand slam or something like that. Like, I want to see that. I hate the Yankees, but I like Judge. He's an easy guy to root for. He's really, really hard to like not like, regardless of the uniform he has on. I'd like to see him do it, but his teammates are going to have to step up because, like you guys said, I mean, if he's constantly getting up with 2 outs and no one on, he's just not going to really have the opportunities to get it done.
No, if you're in close games and the bases are empty, he's just they're not going to let him hit, and they shouldn't down the stretch. But to your point, Sean, the Yankees are in control of this. If that team hits and gets on base and forces the issue, he's going to get to hit. If Aaron Judge is getting pitched to 3 or 4 times a game down the stretch,
He'll get it.
He'll totally get it. If he's getting pitched around because they don't need to pitch to him because nobody else is getting on base, it's going to be a struggle. But it's going to be the guys around him that dictate what he sees for pitch selection for the next 5 weeks.
And then you saw towards the end of it when he hit that little slump, if you want to call it, going for 62, you could tell he was pressing a little bit. So if they do start pitching around him, do you see Judge start to press to, try to get it? I don't know if you do this time because he already has the record. So maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. But
and he's a good enough experienced hitter that I don't think he would try to expand the zone or throw away at bats trying to make something happen. I think he'll take what they give him. Because to your point, he's been there before, a couple more years of experience. So he's continuing to mature as a hitter. Yeah. But it'd be a shame to see him come down the stretch batting 400 with a bunch of walks because he's getting so few at bats.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on to our next segment.
So hang on. Before we do that, I want to go back to the comment you made about Shohei Ohtani. Feeling like Shohei Ohtani might be the best player of all time.
All right.
Are you basing that on stats or are you basing that on just the impact?
I'm basing that on the two-way player. Right? I mean, by the time we haven't seen a two-way player since.
I like the smirk on Sean's face.
Well, I love when Harrison is like clearly setting you up. Like, are you basing that on stats? Because I have stats that are going to show you he's not. But go ahead.
I mean, he's got 7 years left on this contract. Who knows if he plays after that? He could. But if he comes back and pitches and puts up Cy Young caliber seasons in the next, I'd say 4 or 5, yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard to say that he's not.
All right. So statistically, he won't be the best, but you're saying the combination of everything would make him the best.
Absolutely. Because, yes, Babe Ruth was a two-way player, but how many years did he actually pitch? It wasn't a ton, right? It was like 3 or 4 seasons, I believe. I don't think he pitched for a long time. And I mean,
yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
And I would too. But,
I only ask because, Shohei's 30. He's 2 years younger than Judge. He's 100 home runs behind him. If he has 2 50 home run seasons again after this, then he'd be on par with where Judge is at 32. I think last week we talked about the ceiling for Judge is probably not that high. He's probably in the 500s. Fox Sports and ESPN think Aaron Judge is a 600 home run candidate. I mean, I hope we're wrong and he is, but so I think based
he
on
might
that,
have at this pace, dude, he might have 600 by the end of the season.
Well, fair. I mean, he might be sitting at 400 and change, 400 next year, this friggin' rate, but
right.
But anyways, so like you look at a guy like Judge, who's if Shohei is on the same pace as him and he's a 500 home run guy, that in itself gets you into the Hall of Fame. But it doesn't make you the best hitter of all time. You throw the pitching on top of that, and you want to make the argument that his overall impact was one of the highest of all time. I'd take that.
I'm not saying that he would be number one, but it would be one hell of a debate going forward for a lot of people, especially, us being in the modern era of baseball.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you have the older baseball fans that are always going to say Babe Ruth, Willie Mays, which it's hard to argue against. Nick Arno, right? It's hard to argue against those 3 guys being the best baseball player of all time. But when Shohei's career is done and we look back and see what he actually did, and all his peers are in absolute awe of what he does on the field, are we looking at potentially the number 1 player? I think we could be.
So let me ask you guys this: how long? So let's assume Shohei Ohtani comes back next spring, healthy, good to go. How long is he a pitcher? How long do the Dodgers have him on the mound? Is it a couple years? Is it 5 years? Does he go all 7 years? Like, in reality, can a guy be 35, 36, 37 years old and trying to play both ways? Like, what's the length of time left for him as a pitcher?
I mean, I think it's a valid question. I think it's entirely going to depend on what he looks like next year. I think if he comes back beginning of the year, spring training, makes it through spring training, he's healthy, first month of the season, he's still ramping it up. Next thing you know, we're looking at August of next year. He's pretty much made every start. He's, upper echelon, maybe not Cy Young candidate, but kind of upper level. And if you're the Dodgers, you're looking at that going, okay, we could probably ride this for another 4 years, 5 years. I really don't know if you're getting to the end of that contract. I don't know how realistic it's going to be for him to play both ways and have the difference that you're expecting him to make. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't expect him to play both ways and be a 50-50 guy.
You could trot him out there.
Sure,
you could trot him out there. But I don't know if what would be more impactful? I would think it would be the bat, right? You're in the lineup every day. I mean, I would think that would be the more impactful position for him. So I would think that, after, probably 3-4 years of the pitching, and then you really have to make a decision and then just say, okay, I think this is our DH moving forward. That's the way I would look at it. I'm with you. I don't know how realistic you can expect 7 years from now at 30, he'd be 37.
Yeah. I
mean, that's a bit much.
So the question that I posed to you guys this week in the text,
which was awesome,
was if Shohei Ohtani comes back and they decide to put him in a closer role, right? So hey, we're gonna limit his bullets, but we want him to go max effort. But maybe we put him in the 8th, we put him in the 9th inning. My question is, with the position players pitching rule that is in effect, does that make him ineligible to pitch in those situations?
I mean, arguably yes, but I don't know. I mean, my guess is if the Dodgers are going to make that move, they're going to call the league and be like, "Hey, we need to tweak this rule and allow for some sort of use where it's at a particular time or particular type, we can bring him in." Because if you can't use Shohei Ohtani out of the bullpen, and he's got to be a starter only, well, now it limits your options. Whereas if you can have him come in and be an 8th or 9th inning guy, you can trot him out there 3-4 times a week maybe, and let him just pitch.
Yeah, I mean, if that's something that the Dodgers want to do, and for the record, we haven't heard that, right, Nick? That was just an idea that you kind of threw out there.
It's an idea that I had. If I'm the Dodgers and I'm trying to preserve his bullets to give me the biggest impact,
I don't want people thinking that the Dodgers are thinking about moving him to the bullpen.
Oh no!
It was just an idea that you threw out there, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think if the Dodgers called the league, and the league was nah, we like the rule, then that would be the dumbest decision they've ever made.
Yeah, we know MLB loves Shohei because he's on their Facebook page. Well, basically 7 times a day.
They should.
Oh yeah, he's the most marketable guy in baseball.
As it is, it's but they should.
Yep.
And if the Dodgers are thinking about taking a guy like that, putting him in the lineup every day to hit home runs, I mean, imagine the fun Major League Baseball would have with this. Shohei gives them the lead in the top of the 9th and then comes in to shut the door in the bottom of the 9th. I mean, how many times is that going to happen? That would be incredible.
Yeah, the headlines write themselves.
I mean, the league would be silly to even hem and haw over that. So if that's something that the Dodgers wanted to explore to maybe limit it or expand it by limiting the bullets, and maybe you do see him on the mound into the age 37 season, I could see that. And like I said, I think, in my opinion, the league would be so dumb to not allow that.
And you made a good point. I've seen it numerous times. Was on your lineup card before the game, you can put DH/shortstop or DH/center field.
Well,
so could you possibly put in DH/closing pitcher?
DH/CP? Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm the Dodgers, that's a question that I'm asking. And then, but if I'm the league, I'm now thinking, okay, so is that just a loophole that other teams are going to use? So every team that has like a Brock Holt is just going to put like second base / closing pitcher just in case.
But
and if that's the case, then just get rid of the damn rule.
right.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Like
But
if you're gonna, if that's a loophole you're gonna open and allow, then just the rule just didn't work, and that's fine. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you convert Shohei to pitcher and get rid of the DH, or do you take him out of the DH spot, put him as pitcher,
Right.
and lose his bat?
Right.
You know, like
yeah.
how you
yeah.
can't double switch like you used to. So
Right.
how do you keep his bat in the game
Right.
in case you go to extras and switch him in like that? That could be a bit of a puzzle for them to try to figure out, is how do you make that
Sure.
move?
Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely.
It's
I mean,
kind of,
I
it's kind
would
of fun to
think
kick
just-
around though.
It is. Yeah. I would say if I'm the manager,
Well, we know Dave Roberts will screw it up, so you should tell him.
but
how to
if
do it,
I'm the
Sean.
manager and if I have to lose the bat and put him in a closer role, I'm going to bet that more often than not, he's going to close the door anyways, and it will be fine. And if we have a game where Shohei blows the save and we lose the bat, we probably don't deserve to win that game anyways.
Fair.
Now, that happens more frequently, then that's a discussion you have to have. But just with the pure stuff that this guy has, I mean, I can't imagine too many times this guy comes in the ninth and blows a save.
Well, and I'm thinking you don't bring him into the ninth in like a tie game, knowing that could be a problem. Like you bring him in when
Correct,
it's like
right.
clearly a save situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, all right. Before we move on, the future Hall of Famer Salvador Perez just emptied the bases
Yeah, I
with a
saw.
grand slam to put the Royals up 9-4 against the
Dude,
Guardians.
My
So,
Royals,
And it was a no
absolutely
doubter,
on a
too.
heater.
yeah,
it was
that
a
ball
no-doubter.
was tagged.
Yeah.
So
No doubter.
Royals, after a tough weekend, they went into Cleveland.
Yeah.
And taking care
Don't
of
look
business
now,
right
but they're 2 games behind the Guardians. They win tonight. They hold on to win tonight, and they're 1 game back of a team that we didn't think would get caught.
Yeah. So crazy. All right. We'll move on to the announcement of our boy Joey Votto retires. Reds did a tribute video, and the emotional me cried through the entire thing. It was awesome. It was like a 4 or 5 minute video of his career, like his viral video clips with like Chris Mad Dog Russo and all that.
Oh man,
like,
he was so funny in
stuff.
that interview.
So funny. But is Joey Votto a Hall of Famer? Now this is the ultimate borderline. Like obviously Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. But what this guy meant to this Reds franchise during that stretch of time was something special. I mean, he had a MVP in there. I mean, all the all-star appearances, home runs, he's borderline, maybe a little low, average is up there. But I mean, with character alone, which we know, which we'll get into later, is a big part of the Hall of Fame. Does Votto get in because his character kind of puts him over the hump there?
Because he's likable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Statistically, is he a Hall of Famer? No. I mean, 294 career average, 356 home runs, 1,144 RBIs, 2135 hits. I mean, he's not like a no way, but he's like a really like. But at the same time, like,
borderline.
but I look at him and what he meant to the organization, that city, the league. You know what the fans think of him, and my guess is the writers all love him too. I think he gets in. I think he probably gets in on the first ballot because he might be one of the most genuinely liked people in the entire game.
Yeah. 6-time All-Star, Gold Glove, MVP. I mean, like he has the accolades there. I just, like you said, the pile of numbers just isn't quite Hall of Fame. But
I mean, the hard part is that like statistically, he's about the same hitter with more power as Joe Mauer. Joe Mauer got in. You could make an argument that, well, if he gets in, Votto, but Votto played a premier offensive position. Mauer didn't. So it's a hard one for Joey Votto. But his career WAR is higher than Mauer's. Like you can make a lot of arguments for why he should get in. But I think because he was so liked, he does get in. But I've said it on the show 50 times, and I'll say it again. If MLB does not find a way to keep that man involved in the game in some way, they're missing a huge opportunity to grow the game. There is nobody that connects with the fans better than Joey Votto.
I agree. love everything that he was on and off the field. And like you said, you got to find a way to keep him involved somehow.
Yeah, I'm not a Reds fan, and Joey Votto is one of my favorite players of all time. I
Dude,
could
I
care
was
less about the Reds, but he's one of my favorite baseball guys of all time because
yeah,
he was just such a great ambassador of the game and a character, and the way he interacted with fans. Like, he did everything you could ever ask a ball player to do, and he made baseball, for many people, worth watching just to see him play and to see him interact and see him have fun.
yeah. When I went to Cincinnati a couple summers ago to get that stadium checked off, I was so bummed he was on the shelf. Like, he was the main reason I was going. I wanted to see him.
That dude's like the mayor of Cincy.
It's awesome. So, all right. Let's get over to the Seattle Mariners now. Scott Service fired, Dan Wilson's in, and the Mariners have lost a 10-game lead that they had in mid-June, lost a 10-game lead, and their landslide continues. I mean, they've already fired like 2 hitting coaches. They can't hit, and they fired 2 hitting coaches throughout the year. That's still not working. Does firing Scott Service at this point of the season do anything either?
No, I mean, is Dan Wilson going to like sprinkle some pixie dust on the bats so they hit better? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add. Yeah, no, I don't.
So what are the Mariners?
Do we lose you, Nick?
No.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying anything.
You cut out there for a second, Nick.
Oh, sorry.
You started to say, what are the, and we lost you.
Oh, well, it's because I stopped talking.
Oh.
Oh, well, that would make sense. No, I mean,
some killer good radio right now, boys.
What's the thought process on Scott Service being fired now? I don't know. I mean, I think, they're looking. How far out are they? Let me look real quick. How far out are they? Are
4.5 in the division, 6.5 in the wild card. I mean, that's a lot of games.
So
they got to make up 7 games in 30. That's going to be hard.
Yeah. No, 100%. No, I just was curious, I mean, I think you're looking right now, just, can we end it on a good note? Can we turn this thing around? Can we go on a bit of a run? Do we have the right core? Like, do we have the right kind of guys in the clubhouse? Do we need to get a couple of kind of fringe character type of players, or do we need to really kind of blow this thing up? Kind of get rid of down to the studs. I mean, obviously you keep, J-Rod, but like, are we bringing this thing down to the studs and starting from the basement? I think that's kind of what you're trying to figure out right now if you're Seattle. And I think you have the first discussion you have is, okay, if all we need is to sprinkle some fringe players around, is Scott Service the guy to do that? And clearly they thought no, so they got rid of him now. Like, to me, that's really the only thing that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah,
because you're not making the postseason at this point.
No, I mean their odds of making it to the playoffs are very, very unlikely. They got to get on they got to be 7 games better than the Astros. If the Astros go 500 the rest of the way and play 15-15 baseball, they got to go 22-8. I mean,
yeah, right. It's not happening.
there's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, 6.5 games a month ago wasn't a big deal. 6.5 games now is a problem, or 4.5 games now is a problem. But the comment from Dipoto was, they need a new voice. They feel like he's kind of lost touch with the players, which I think is a great cop-out way to say we want to change the manager. But really, this is a guy who was a manager of the year, 2 or 3 years ago? He's consistently been given teams that are clearly flawed and done a lot with them. This year, they have the best pitching staff in baseball and the worst offense. Like, Scott Service can't magically make these guys hit. But if Dipoto had built a lineup that gave him some depth, he could have worked with it. So this is one of those situations where I feel like the cupboard was bare. That's Dipoto's fault. But they're going to make the change at manager thinking because they somehow feel like either they've got the right mix or somebody's got to go down for it. And it's not going to be Dipoto. He's going to stick around and try to rebuild this thing. But the window's closing. They can't keep these pitchers forever. And they got to figure out where the offense is going to come from. And the trade for Suarez didn't work. That's on Dipoto. Like, you look at the moves they've made, they haven't worked. And that's on the GM. That's not on Scott Service.
Yeah, I think your only untouchables in your lineup are J-Rod and Cal Raleigh, right? I mean, everybody else is I mean, Jake Raley, Arozarena, Polanco, Turner, Rojas,
Roble?
Manzone. Well, they just signed him to an extension.
He's a spark plug, though. You need a guy like that.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like you can't have your lineup be based around Cal Raleigh and J Rod.
No.
It's not going to work.
You just don't have enough depth.
I mean, I think you got to blow up that whole starting lineup and try over.
They need to spend some money.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've looked at the free agents before. I don't know if there's anything out there to really get to put them over the hump either. So I don't know. I don't think firing a manager when you're already past the tailspin, like you've already crashed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you have a month left. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the clubhouse. Maybe you're right, Sean. Maybe he did lose everybody and no one was there to play. Like they're just going through the motions, and they need somebody to go in and be like, hey, we got a month left.
That's what he said. I mean, that's what the GM said, is that it got a
Okay.
little stale and they needed a new voice. Now,
Yeah.
Harrison says that that's the biggest cop out, which in a sense I can agree with, but I think the timing of it, to me, tells you what you need to know. Like if you fire somebody at the end of the year and you're like, oh, well, we just need a new voice. It's like, all right, fine. But like you're firing somebody now when the tailspin already pretty much happened. I wouldn't say it's over, but like the damage has been done at this point from the tailspin, right? They're out.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree they're not getting into the postseason. So like I was saying, to me, I'm looking at this going, okay, they are trying to see, yes, maybe we need a new voice, but do we also need new guys? Like, do we need new core players? Like, do we have, we got the young pitching staff. We got, George Kirby. We got the pitchers we want. We have J-Rod. I'm not as high on Cal Raleigh, but I'll put him in there for the sake of the argument. We have J-Rod. We have Cal. Like, are some of these younger guys, maybe some of these guys, maybe we see a couple of call-ups on these young guys to see, can they fit in this lineup? Can they play? Do they have a little bit of pop? But like, if it's not working with Scott Service, then I think that it's always going to be in the back of your head, well, we just didn't have the right voice. Like right now, you got rid of the new voice. You bring in some guy named Dan Wilson, right? And it's like, okay, can anybody turn this thing around a little bit? Can we go on a little bit of a run? Can we put in a couple of winning streaks? Can we win, 5 out of the final 6 series or, whatever the math turns out to be? And if we can do that and we know, okay, we got some dogs in here. We got some guys that are going to fight and claw to the end. Let's get the right voice. Because if you don't, if Scott Service is out, Dan Wilson is in, the tailspin continues, and they just lose every series the rest of the way, well, now you have your answer. It's the manager. It's the guys. It's probably the GM. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think this is just doing it now buys you a little bit of time. Instead of having to have that conversation and wait until the beginning of the next year to see, do we have the guys and do we have the right manager? You're taking that manager. We don't have the right manager. He's gone. So now it's up to the guys. Do we have the right guys?
Yeah.
To me, that's all this says. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what else they could be trying.
That's fair. Yeah. You assess what you have going into the offseason and then make your moves instead of, like you said, trying to do it in the middle of next year. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree. This is a great time to see what you got. Mix up the lineups, call some people up, get a new voice in there, and this is your chance for the next 5 weeks to say who's staying, who's going, like who's part of our 2025 plan.
I know it's certainly not apples to apples. It's different sports, but I mean, you look at what the Raiders did last year, right? And obviously, McDaniels was like outwardly disliked by some of those Raiders players, and they were not shy about saying it. And this is not necessarily the case with Scott Service, but the point remains, right? Like they got rid of him when they did. Antonio Pierce comes in as the interim, and it's like, okay, like, you rip off a couple of wins, like maybe the team isn't as bad. Maybe they just need a new voice. Like, I think that's kind of what Seattle's looking at right now.
Yeah.
Like, is it everything, or is it truly just the stale voice? You get a new voice in, the boys go on a roll, and, maybe you kind of let it go into next year. Like, I think that's kind of the idea.
There's always a school of thought that sometimes you wake the team up by firing the manager to let people know that, hey, look, we got to play better. And the wake up call is we got rid of your guy that was at the helm. Somebody new's coming in, new regime, time to prove yourself again. You try to create a spark.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think for the Mariners it's too late to create a spark, but it's not too late to start thinking about what the plan for next year is going to be.
Right. I think that's what this is next year.
Yeah.
They just need some bats. They gotta find a way to bring in some offense. That offense, and we said it coming into the spring.
It's putrid.
Where's the runs going to come from in that lineup? Like, where are they going to come from?
It's absolutely crazy because you got rid of 400 strikeouts with Teoscar Hernandez and Suarez.
Yep. But they hit home runs.
Right.
They were run producers.
But you got rid of 400 strikeouts, and you're still second to last in the league in hitting.
You traded 400 strikeouts
crazy.
for like 500 groundouts.
Crazy.
I mean, there's those guys at least like created some stuff.
Yeah. You're right.
These, they're run producers. What they got now is a whole bunch of nothing. They can't string hits together. They got very little power. It's like to the point where I can't watch them anymore. Like they are, what's going to happen. It's going to be strikeout, ground out, innings over. Like it's just it's so monotonous because they just can't get anything together.
Yeah. All right, so we have some highlights from players. Elly De La Cruz becomes the 5th player ever to hit 20 home runs and steal 60 bases in a season. This we were talking about a couple weeks ago. Does Elly get to 80? I mean, he's got a month to get 20. He'll probably have 6 more tonight, 6 more tomorrow. I mean, well,
it's a lot of swipes though.
It is. I don't think he quite gets to 80. Yeah. I mean, at the pace he was going, we were like, oh yeah, it's probably 80 and then some. But it seems like he's slowed down a little bit.
He slowed down a lot. We'll just even get picked off by Skeens.
Yeah, crazy.
That was bad.
Yeah, and then he got bag tagged yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. Yeah, Tellez slapped the tag on him trying to go back from the pickoff and got him.
Yep.
And then Francisco Lindor is the first shortstop to have 25 home runs and 25 stolen base seasons, which is crazy that a shortstop hasn't done that before, to be completely honest.
I know. You think of some of the guys who played shortstop.
And it's 3 total, not 3 in a row.
It might be it might be 3 straight.
I think it is 3
but
straight.
It is.
I thought it was 3 straight.
Either 3 straight. But yeah. Either way, Francisco Lindor, what was he, 30-30 last year?
Yep.
The last couple of years, I think.
Oh, no,
right?
It's 3 total because 27-25 this year, 31-31 last year. The year before that was 26-16. You got to go back to 2018 Cleveland was the last time he had 38 and 25. So it's 3 total. 2 in a row, 3 total.
Yeah.
But like we had that whole like shortstop spending sprees sweepstakes last winter or 2 winters ago. And kind of everybody forgot the 2 best shortstops in baseball are Lindor and Seager, who are already signed. And Lindor every year just goes out and puts up monster numbers and gets forgotten about.
Yeah, and Met fans shit all over him. And it's
just so underappreciated.
It's exhausting.
He's so good. And he gets no respect from his own fans.
To be able to watch him and root for him night in and night out is so much fun for me. Like he's just so consistent and so good. And he starts slow, he gets dumped on. He goes on a hot streak, it's because they were playing bad teams. He goes through a slump again, it's because he's overpaid. It's like, it's just exhausting to listen to. And it's like, this dude is just so damn good from both sides of the plate, on defense, as a team leader. He's a superstar. He's an absolute bona fide superstar.
Underappreciated.
His time in New York is going to end. And then people are going to come around and be like, damn, we got to watch that guy every day, and we didn't appreciate a single second of it. Yeah. And that's a shame.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's only 30. He's got 10 seasons under his belt. He continues to just put up numbers. He was number 9 in the MVP voting for 22 and 23. He consistently plays well, consistently puts up numbers, and yet Mets fans don't like him. And the rest of the league kind of forgets about him because the Mets haven't been in contention to watch him. Like the most underappreciated guy in baseball, but arguably the best shortstop in baseball, like all around, just gets ignored.
For a while. Like not even just like a couple of years, like a long stretch at this point.
I mean, he's been the best shortstop in baseball since like 2016. Like the guy he does everything every season. And not only that, but like he plays like every friggin' night. Like, I mean, the fewest games he's played in a season is 125 in 2021. Yeah. Like 161 in 22, 160 in 23. He's on pace to play 150 something this year. I mean, the guy is out there every freaking night.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, we had some history today. I know we brought it up last week, but Danny Jansen officially becomes the only player in Major League Baseball history to play for both teams in the same game. So what happened was his at-bat got suspended in June with 1 strike. So officially, it wasn't his at bat. So if he would have gotten 2 strikes in his at bat, then it would have been Danny Jansen at the plate with Danny Jansen behind the plate.
Oh, interesting.
For the
he would have been catching his own at bat.
He would have been catching his own at bat, which would have given him a chance to get him out. Now the crazy thing is there was a runner on first base and Dalton Varsho struck out on a ball in the dirt. So if there wasn't a guy on first base, he could have tagged Varsho. Could have put himself out. He could have gotten himself out, which was even crazier. But officially, it wasn't his at bat because it was suspended with 1 strike. So,
so Varsho basically subbed in for him, and he subbed in for Reese McGuire, and that's how that whole thing.
Yes,
because McGuire's gone and Johnson's in Boston.
But yeah, he is the first player to officially play in the same game for both teams. So this is pretty cool. I went back and watched that. I was like, it was cool.
Well, his Blue Jays side got a win today.
Yeah, good for them. But all right, before we jump in to the Pete Rose documentary, we'll take a quick break. We'll do our trivia, and then we will get into all of that. So here we go. Oh, just showed you. Hold on. Got to get to the front here. All right. So here we go. I guess I'll share it now. All right. So National League single season team records. Here we go. Who is the only Arizona Diamondback to hit 2 cycles in a single season?
Gonzalez?
Nope.
Tony Womack?
Nope.
That's a great pick. I used to love Womack. Council?
So, nope. This guy was a Toronto Blue Jay for a while and then came over and played second base. And he was part of our blurred trivia a couple weeks ago.
Oh, Aaron Hill?
Yes, Aaron Hill.
Oh, nice. Good call.
Oh,
2012.
Okay.
Yep.
Kind of forgot about him in Arizona.
Yep, 2012. All right, next one. Who holds the franchise record for most at-bats in a single season for the Atlanta Braves? And think about the teams in the 90s.
Chipper?
Nope.
Most at-bats, not plate appearances.
Right, at-bats.
Oh, yeah. Otis Nixon.
No, but you're on the right track with that.
Marquis
position.
Grissom.
Yes, Marquis
Oh,
Grissom.
wow. I gave nothing to that one. I gave nothing to that one.
I just wanted to say Otis Nixon because I should love that guy. The dude looked like he was 85 years old at 30.
Right. Yep, 671 at bats.
That's a lot of at bats.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How many PAs, though?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I don't think he walked much.
No. Who holds the franchise record for most hit by pitches in a single season for the Chicago Cubs?
It's probably someone like Sean Casey for like a cup of coffee he had in Chicago.
No, this is a guy that we have talked about getting hit by pitches a lot.
Justin Turner? Did he play in Chicago? Has he played in Chicago?
He hasn't played in Chicago.
No, okay.
Nope, not Andre Dawson. That's a good guess.
Yeah, Derek Lee?
Nope. This guy is still active, but he's injured right now.
Active with the Cubs or active somewhere else?
Active somewhere else.
Huh.
He was on the 2016 World Series team.
Oh, Rizzo?
Yes.
Yeah, he gets hit a ton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you said that. I'm like,
I feel like I
yeah,
knew
Rizzo.
that. Now that you say that, I definitely feel like I knew that. That was dumb.
Just stands on the plate.
Yeah, we had talked about because who else was getting plunked all the time? Was it Reese Hoskins or somebody? And we were just I put up like all the hit by pitch leaders, and he was way up there.
Yeah, he gets hit. He gets hit a lot.
Yeah, Anthony Rizzo. All right. Which 2 players hold the franchise record for most doubles in a single season for the Cincinnati Reds?
Pete Rose has got to be one of them, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Joe Morgan?
Joe Morgan.
Not Joe Morgan.
Tony Perez?
Nope.
Votto?
Nope, not Votto.
That would have been a good tie-in. Is it modern era or is it like back in the Big Red Machine days?
Back then.
Okay. Ben? No, not Bench. He didn't hit a lot of doubles, did he?
No, it's not Bench.
Did you say Perez, Harrison?
I did.
Won an MVP in both leagues. I'll give it away.
Frank.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Frank Robinson, Pete Rose, 51 doubles in 1 year. So franchise record.
It's a lot of doubles.
All right. Who holds a franchise record for most hits in a single season for the Colorado Rockies?
I feel like it's like Charlie Blackmon.
Nope.
Yeah, Todd Helton's 2 down the middle, isn't it? It's not Todd Helton, right?
Yeah, it's not Todd Helton,
Not Larry Walker.
not Larry Walker, but someone that played with both of them. Probably more
Matt
with
Holliday.
Walker. No, probably more with Walker than he did Helton.
Galarraga?
Nope, not Galarraga.
Tulowitzki?
Nope, not Tulo. He has a son that's in the MLB right now.
Dante Bichette.
Dante Bichette.
Oh, Dante, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
219.
In Boston, how that didn't work out?
Yeah. Yeah. 219 in 1998.
That was the year. Was 1998 was the year that he hit all those home runs in Colorado and still ended up with a negative WAR, wasn't it? Wasn't that 1998?
I'm pretty sure you're right.
That year,
Yeah.
he hit like a ton of home runs at the altitude, but he's still like a negative 2-point-something WAR at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He had such a weird swing, that like short slashing swing.
Yeah. And he was hunched over too, I believe, like kind of a weird stance.
Yeah, 98 he hit 331 with 22 home runs and 122 RBIs.
Yeah, it's all right.
His career WAR is only 5.7.
Yikes.
That's
Crazy.
That's a season for a lot of these superstars this year.
Yeah. All right. Who holds the franchise record for most home runs in a single season for the Brooklyn/Los Angeles Dodgers?
Snyder?
No. This is crazy because the Dodgers have never had a 50 home run guy,
I know,
which
it's
is
amazing.
blows my mind.
Was it like Matt Kemp?
Nope. A little bit before him.
Good
I was,
call, though.
I'm picturing like Matt Kemp having a season where he hit like 42 or something, and people going crazy about it.
This guy was a tall, lanky lefty, also played in Toronto.
Oh, Sean Green.
Sean Green, yes. 49. Yeah.
Well, Shohei should get him this year.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, they never had a 50 home run guy. I thought that was crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right.
All those years.
What? It's a big ass stadium, though. I mean,
it's
it's
true.
tough to play your home games. You know,
Yeah.
it's a big stadium.
Yeah.
There were a
Yeah,
fair
it's
amount
true.
of power hitters there. You think somebody
Oh,
would
no.
accidentally hit 50, but
Sure.
it's amazing.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Who holds the franchise record for most wins in a single season for the Florida/Miami Marlins?
Dontrell?
Yes, sir.
That was
Nice.
going to be my guess. Yeah, well done.
Yeah. D Train 22, 2005.
Look at that windup. I mean, how on earth do you get to a position to throw a ball?
Apparently like that. It's crazy.
Just all legs and arms coming at you.
Absolutely love it. All right, next one. Who holds the franchise record for most RBIs in a single season for the Milwaukee Brewers?
Prince?
Is this one like down the middle?
Yeah, pretty much. What did you say, Harrison?
Prince?
Yeah, it's Prince Fielder. Yeah. 141, 2009.
It's a lot of ribbies.
Yeah, I love this picture.
I know.
Craig Counsell on the ground there.
Yeah, he was a character.
Yeah. All right. Who holds the franchise record for most saves in a single season for the New York Mets?
Franco?
Nope.
Did Diaz get it?
No, Diaz did
I
not
didn't
get it.
think so.
A
I didn't
little
think
bit,
so.
little bit before his time.
Isringhausen?
No,
A little bit before whose time?
Diaz. Like around 2014 to 17, I would give you that time frame.
Familia.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Reese Familia. Yeah.
Yeah. 51,
51,
2016. Yeah.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
But he was. I mean, that 2016 that year was insane.
Yeah.
And that guy was. It's untouchable.
Jeez, that's a lot.
Who holds the franchise record for most walks by a hitter in a single season for the Philadelphia Phillies?
So like drew the most walks.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I probably should have put Drew the most walks,
That's
but
all right. That's fine.
Ryan Howard.
Nope.
Ooh, good guess.
This was a leadoff hitter in the 90s.
Oh, so not Rollins.
No.
Leadoff hitter in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. With all those Kruk and Darren Dalton teams.
Yeah.
Lenny? No, Lenny was the 80s, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Lenny,
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Lenny?
Oh, nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that
100
stance. I wonder he walked so much.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He and
100
Phil Plantier made the strike zone disappear.
Yep. 129 walks, 93.
That's a lot of walks. Wow. For a leadoff guy, too.
Yep. All right. Who holds the franchise record for most home runs in a single season for the Pittsburgh Pirates?
It's not Barry, right?
No.
Covey?
Who?
Oh my God. Pirates. I'm thinking Bonds, so then I'm thinking Giants.
Yeah, you just went down the line of the Giants.
It's a flu game for me. So
Stargell?
No, not Stargell.
Is it more modern?
I
Nope.
can't get Bonds and the Giants out of my head.
It's a
Even though I'm
little
looking
bit-
at something that says Pittsburgh Pirates.
A little bit before Stargell.
So Clemente would be out.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit before Stargell.
Yep.
It's not Mazurowski then.
No. Not a power guy.
Right. No, I'm just.
Outfielder, right-handed hitter.
I'm not getting
Another
this one.
another Pirate great. This is
Oh, Kiner. Duh.
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, that
50.
one hurts.
Yeah, 54 in 1949. All right, who holds a franchise record for hits in a single season for the St. Louis Cardinals?
Stan the man.
Stan.
No,
Are you
I
not
forget.
sure?
I forget this one.
Well, you're sharing.
Uh,
Give
I
away
got
the
it.
answer.
I know. I got it.
Edgar Renteria.
No, way before.
way
Wait,
before
before
Edgar, way
Renteria or
before
Stan?
Both of them.
Oh, goodness, great. Okay.
Oh,
Slaughter.
No, before him.
Oh, my Lord. Tippy Fairbanks. I mean, how far back we going, man?
20s, I believe.
Oh, Lord.
You should know this name. Highest career average for a second baseman.
Hornsby? But I would,
Yes.
mm.
Huh.
Yeah. 250 hits.
Geez, I didn't realize we're going back to the 20s for this one. Holy cow.
Yeah. Sorry, I completely
Asterisk.
forgot space on that one.
Yeah.
Asterisk.
Nice job. Ben got it in the chat, too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Hornsby. Good. All right. Who holds the franchise record for most home runs in a single season for the San Diego Padres?
Ooh.
Right-handed hitter.
We know it wasn't Tony Gwynn.
Yep. Yeah. Who is this one?
Recent?
No, I'd say 90s,
Okay.
early 2000s.
Sort of right-handed hitter. So
Played for the Rays at one point.
boy.
Jesus.
This is Greg.
Oh,
Yeah, Greg
Right.
Vaughn's one of those like sneaky guys that like
yeah. I think you could have
Put
given
up-
me a while.
yeah,
I
put up
wouldn't have
numbers
got
in a
that
bunch
one.
of places.
Yeah, Greg Vaughn, 50 and 98. So another 50 home run guy in 1998.
Yeah, I wonder what was going on back in '98.
Nah, no clue. No idea.
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't worry about the thighs that are attached to his shoulders, but that's fine.
Yeah, they're hitting golf balls all juiced up.
Yeah. All right. Which two players are tied for the franchise record for saves in a single season for the New York/San Francisco Giants?
Is Brian Wilson one of them?
Brian Wilson
Gotta
is
be.
one of them.
Yeah,
New
gotta
Hampshire
be.
native Brian Wilson.
Yep. And the other guy is one of your favorite guys, Harrison.
One of my favorite guys? Oh, Rod Beck?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
The pride of New Hampshire, Brian Wilson. He was not that crazy back in high school.
No, just really stinking good.
He was wicked good, though.
Yeah. Rod Beck and Brian Wilson. All right. Who holds the franchise?
Those guys were both nuts, like certifiably nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Last one I got. Who holds the franchise record for most hits in a single season for the Montreal Expos / Washington Nationals?
Dawson?
Nope.
Burks?
No.
Walker?
Nope.
Gary Carter.
No.
I mean, the only other guy I got is Guerrero.
Guerrero.
Oh,
Yes.
I mean, there's like a handful of guys you could even mention.
But here's the thing. Some of these are so down the middle, and then some of them are just so like I can never like. This one should have been right down the middle. That one's on us. But we had a couple of like weird ones, so that I wasn't really sure.
Yeah, I always feel like there's like a gotcha built into some of these. It's like you'd think this guy, but no.
Yeah. Well, sorry, but yes.
Yeah. No, don't be sorry. No, that's. I mean,
there's not exactly a rich history for the Expos of people to pick from. So.
Yeah.
Pete Rose. That's not a bad pick, Derek, in the chat.
I was coming to Zimmerman next.
For the one season.
All right. Speaking of Pete Rose, okay, the Pete Rose documentary on HBO Max, we are going to break it down a little bit and see what your thoughts on it were. So, initial thoughts on the Rose documentary, Harrison, go ahead.
Well, first of all, full disclaimer, he bet on baseball. So he admits to betting on baseball. It's proof he bet on baseball. So before people say, we don't know if he did, he did. He 100% bet on baseball. He bet on the Reds like 56 times to win. He admitted it. Bet on his own team. So back when I was in high school, that's when his whole like apology tour started. He wrote the book, My Prison Without Bars, which is a great book you should read if you haven't. So they had the whole big SI feature. And what I feel like this documentary took a lot of what was in his book and a lot of what he talked about and kind of strung together the whole chronology of his career. And what's sad in all of this is that you see his career and what he meant to play. Like Mike Schmidt, who says, like, I wouldn't have been the player that I was without Pete pushing me. Like Pete made me the player I was because I wasn't there yet. And what's sad in all this is that Pete Rose is such a genuine like ambassador and like one of the most knowledgeable baseball guys there is, who basically was a dirtbag off the field. He hung out with bad people. He did bad things. He got into trouble. And when you surround yourself with people like that, that's what you get. I will say, when you look at his pattern of activities, he is clearly like a addictive personality disorder kind of guy. Like he gets into something and gets all the way into it. Teammates loved him. Opponents hated him. He hung out with bad people, made bad decisions, and that's why he's on the path that he's on. But it was a great documentary. I've always been of the belief that he belongs in the Hall of Fame. This didn't change that for me. What it made me realize that he really was like just a general dirtbag. But I don't think he knew and still doesn't know how big a dirtbag he was, because he clearly has addiction issues with gambling, with adrenaline rush, with all that stuff. He's a flawed man that put up ridiculous stats and belongs in the Hall of Fame, but he's not a good guy.
Yeah. For me, I watched it the whole time and I'm like, he belongs in the Hall. Like they break down his career. They show the games, the success he had. And I'm like, yep, belongs in the Hall. Then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, no, he doesn't. And then another 10 minutes pass. I'm like, yep, he does. Like the whole time I'm like, yep, no, yep. Okay. No. Yes, definitely. So me right now, I'm still on the fence. I want to go back and watch it again to make another decision. But no question on the field, what that guy brought to the field night in and night out was something special. I mean, no one played or even plays like that anymore. He was balls to the wall all the time. Never stopped. Sprinted everywhere. He would draw a walk and sprint to first base. No one does that. No one. He did. He brought something special to the game, which alone I think is Hall of Fame worthy. But as we know, the Hall of Fame is very, very big on character. And Pete Rose does not have the character to belong in the Hall. And that's where we sit. Now, my takeaway from it was in episode 4, he's trying to get reinstated into MLB. And this might be the only thing I agree with Rob Manfred on ever, was Rob Manfred said his reinstatement to baseball has no impact on the Hall of Fame. They're two separate entities. I have to protect the integrity of the game. So if I like reinstating him or not does not affect what the Hall of Fame does, which I agree with to a point. But if he reinstates him into baseball, it's still I still think the Hall keeps him out because of that character clause that the Hall has. I don't know. I mean, it was a great documentary because I'm young enough that I was not able to see his performance on the field.
Yeah, I was in diapers when he retired.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely incredible what this guy did on the field. And like you said, Harrison, off the field, absolute scumbag.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can't deny that. And what really hurt him was the lies at the beginning. I think if he would have just came out at the beginning, said, yeah, I bet on baseball, I did it, I don't think we would still be sitting here today necessarily talking about it at this capacity. I think there would have been a little bit more leeway with him if he was just honest from the get-go. Now, he does bring up the Astros cheating scandal, which we can get into. We think that's way worse than what he did or not. Like you can draw your own conclusion there. But I don't know. I still don't know where to go with my decision if he's in or not. I don't think the Hall puts him in while he's alive, if he even gets in.
I don't think so either. But I just to go to your last point, if he came out at the beginning from when the allegations were brought on, right, and there was no lying, there was no any of that, and he had, mea culpa, like I did it, I shouldn't have done it, I was caught up in it all, and he comes off as a sympathetic figure. And might he be in the Hall of Fame now? Maybe, maybe not, probably not, right? But we're having an entirely different conversation about Pete Rose. We are now having a conversation if that's how it played out, we would currently be having a conversation saying, Pete Rose, he made a mistake, right? Like he made a mistake, sympathetic guy, like, look at all these other guys in baseball that have made mistakes and yada, yada, right? But now, because of just his brashness, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, but for lack of a better one, for his just kind of like pissing on your heads and telling you it's raining. And then when you finally like, no, Pete, it's not raining. He's then like, well, what are you making such a big deal about? Look at all these other people that have cheated, right? Like it's you come off so disingenuous and you're just not a likable person when that's kind of the chronology of how it played out. So the act itself is one thing, but like if it was handled differently and it was much more of a, hey, like I did it, I got caught up in it, I shouldn't have done it. Do I think he's in the Hall? No, I still think they keep him out, but I think we're having an entirely different conversation because I think he would be looked at entirely different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And Joe Morgan had lobbied the Veterans Committee to change the rule and get him in and had a lot of support to do so because a lot of the players feel like he belongs in. And then that kind of faded away because Joe Morgan passed, which I continually forget that he died in 21, but
yeah.
There was a big rally to try to get Pete Rose in the Hall, and you had guys like Bench and Schmidt and Joe Morgan and Tony Perez like all going to bat for him. And there's a lot of kind of activity. Yeah. A lot of activity that kind of faded away because Joe Morgan was the vice chairman of the Hall of Fame and a very loud voice in the commissioner's office. And that all kind of faded. But when you watch the chain of events for Pete Rose, and I'm going to throw a little bit of a different perspective on this. And Pete even says it in the documentary, I've made more money not being in the Hall of Fame than if I was.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And this is a guy who is a master promoter. When his story falls out of the headlines, he puts it back. He applies for reinstatement. He does something. He shows up somewhere. But like, here's a guy who overshadowed the 2002 Hall of Fame inductions by releasing his book on the same day and signing autographs up the street. Like, he is a master promoter. He still makes, I think he said it's like about $3 million a year on card shows and autographs. People, he's got a website where he sells merch. You can make special requests. He signed like 1,000 baseballs that said, "Sorry, I bet on baseball," and signed him Pete Rose, the hit king. Sold thousands of them. He's made more money by not being in the Hall of Fame, and he is a master promoter by continuing putting his story back out there. I do think he wants to be in the Hall, but I think for him, it's worked out really well for him not to be. And I think as he's getting into his 80s and realizing like the window is closing, he's realizing like, I don't want to be the guy that gets in after they die, so I got to clean up my act. So all of a sudden, like, he stopped betting, like he's putting his life together because I think he made all the money. Now he's realizing like, okay, I got to protect my legacy now, and that window's closing for me. I don't actually think he's that heartbroken about not getting into the Hall. He's made a fortune off not being in there.
Yeah, it's fair. I don't know. He doesn't get in while he's alive. There's just no way that the Hall of Fame is going to take that chance, just like Barry Bonds. There's no way that they're going to elect them into the Hall of Fame while they're alive and give them the chance to get up on that stage and badmouth the Hall.
Yeah.
Like there's no chance. Do they get in after they pass? Maybe 50, 60 years down the road, if we're all still here, that happens. But I don't know. I just don't see them budging at this point. Do I think the sentence is too harsh? Yeah. Pete Rose has done his time.
Yeah, 30 some odd years suspended.
He has done his time. There's no reason why he can't be reinstated into baseball. You have current players right now that have bet on baseball, and you just gave him a one year suspension. Yes, you did ban one for life because he bet on his team. Okay, so you're consistent there. But that just happened this year.
But he was a nobody. Like, it's easy to ban a nobody for life.
Right. But Pete Rose has been banned for 38 years or however long it is, and he's put in his time. He's the all-time hit king. You're telling me that you're keeping out the all-time hit king and the all-time career home run leader out of your sports Hall of Fame? That is ridiculous. That would be like taking Michael Jordan and LeBron James when he's eligible, or Kobe Bryant out of the Basketball Hall of Fame. That's like taking Wayne Gretzky out of the Hockey Hall of Fame. That is asinine, and it's a joke. I don't care what the guys have done. Baseball, what they did on the field should get them into the Hall, no doubt. So right now, I'm changing my mind. Pete Rose should be in. I've just talked myself into it. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. It's not. It's dumb that you're keeping the.
The irony is he's got a whole big display case dedicated to him and his career right in the Hall of Fame. Like, he's in the Hall.
No, he's in the museum. He's in the museum.
Yeah, he's in the museum, just no plaque.
He's not in the Hall.
Yep.
Yeah, he belongs in.
Well, I think who the hell are we? Three nobodies. But, I think a big kind of clue into how do I want to say this? So I've been saying for years, and this is just all Hall of Fames, right? Like I think it should be teammates, opponents, coaches, managers you were against, played for. Like, those should be the ones that decide, because they're the ones that know. Like, they're the ones that know. And I think it's a major clue. And you look at a lot of former players that played with, played against, and what are they saying? Right? I mean, you brought up Joe Morgan, right. You brought up those guys. I mean, what was their stance? I mean, it was a pretty clear stance that those guys had.
It was very strong. They want him in.
Right. So it's like, if they're like, who am I? Like, I might not like that he didn't bet, but that he was, had a gambling addiction and this whole thing. I mean, that's been talked about forever. But I might not like it. But these guys that went to war with him or against him for the extended period of time that they did, and it doesn't bother them to the extent where they think he should be out, like, to me, those opinions matter way more than some writers or ours. I mean, it gives us something to talk about, but I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, if you had a whole handful of players and it was like 50-50 or 60% no, 40% yes, then, I get the conversation. But like the large majority of his teammates and opponents, I feel like have this incredibly strong stance that like, yeah, he should be in.
Yeah, they saw what he did every day and the difference he made.
I mean, to me, that tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly. And what's funny is like you look at the 99 all-century team when Major League Baseball let him participate, he got the loudest, longest ovation of any player up there.
Yeah.
I mean, the fans are still very much supportive of him. There were several broadcasters they interviewed that were very supportive of him getting in. Brenneman and Visser and the guy from The Athletic, like they kept talking to these broadcasters like, yeah, he should be in. Like he's paid the price. And it's a tragedy not to have him in there. And then Brenneman made an interesting comment, and I think he's right. His comment was, if Major League Baseball puts him in after he passes, it'll be the greatest travesty ever seen against a player, because this guy is so clearly a Hall of Famer, and then to carry this all the way out till after he dies and then let him in and not let him enjoy the fruits of his labor would be an incredibly sad moment.
Yeah. I have a Pete Rose memory burned into my mind forever. And that was that Jim Gray interview at that 99 All-Star game when he asked him about the betting and all that stuff. And Pete Rose, I thought like he came across a little brash, but I agree with his comment. He's like, how dare you bring that up in such a celebratory moment? Like, I'm not here to talk about that. This is about the guys behind me. And at that point I was like, okay, like, again, I was young enough to like, I was in high school and I was like, all right, like I knew a little bit about why he was out and all of that stuff, but I thought that was an appropriate answer for that time.
And what
like,
year was
absolutely. That was the
99 the all-century team.
Fenway.
Oh, right. Okay. And then a handful of years later, he decided when it was other guys' celebratory night to get inducted into the Hall of Fame,
Yes.
he was going to release his book and hold something down. So I got you. Okay.
Yeah, no, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he is
Yeah.
the master promoter. I mean, there's nobody.
Well, no, I mean, how dare Jim Gray bring it up
Yeah,
when it's about other people? Let these guys have their night. This isn't about me. And then the exact same scenario happens, 3 or 4 years later?
Yeah.
And it's all about Pete Rose.
Well, and what you learn throughout this whole thing is that Pete is a guy with tremendous charisma, and everybody likes him, and he's quite the talker, and he's smooth, and people like are attracted to him. But then like you listen to what he's saying and you kind of read between the lines and you're like, this guy is a total dirtbag, but people love him because he's exciting and fun and he's got the aura of Pete Rose, but like he's a genuine dirtbag. And a lot of that is how he was raised, where he's from, and what he knew. But he also surrounded himself with terrible people.
I also go ahead.
Where were his teammates being like, dude, like you're going down a bad path, cut it out. And the hard part is like he left Cincinnati when all this was going on to go to Philadelphia, and like it all came with him. And he went to a new city where the only people he knew were his bad circle of friends, and it just got worse. That's when he started betting on baseball, and everything kind of went off the rails.
I said this to Sean before we came on, but you look at the elite players across all of sports, right? They all have that sort of like brashness, that, to use the word that Sean said, they all have that like weird personality quirk that makes them so great. And people don't tend to connect with those types of personalities, those type A personalities.
Yep.
Like it's hard to sometimes connect with them on a personal level, but their personality is why they're so great at what they do.
Well, it's like who's a bigger jerk than Ricky Henderson? Like one of the all-time jerks. Reggie Jackson, one of the all-time jerks. Fans love them.
Yeah. But I mean, even across all sports, I mean, you have like Michael Jordan and everything he went through. And like, I mean, it does span that like 1% of the top tier players just have a different type of personality that, an average person has a hard time connecting to. Yep. And I don't know.
For every Joey Votto, there's a Pete Rose.
Right. Or 3 Pete Roses.
Or 3 Pete Roses.
Yeah. Agree.
And what I found interesting too is that, and I honestly didn't realize this, I guess, is that Giamatti died like 8 days after suspending Rose.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and they kind of had like an understanding of how this was all going to play out. And then all of a sudden Giamatti's dead. And Pete Rose was like, oh my goodness. Like, I thought we kind of had a deal and an understanding. Now this guy's gone and the clock resets.
Yeah.
And I thought we had an understanding that I'd sit out for a year or two and come back. And the story's kind of, it's wild. Now, of course, that could be Pete making up stories because he's great at making up stories. But at the same time, it's like, what are the chances that he literally dies like a week after suspending him for life? And then, of course, what I mentioned to you guys, what I kind of didn't realize was that him on the ineligible list did not disqualify him from the Hall of Fame until the Hall of Fame changed their rule that wouldn't allow anybody on the ineligible list in, because they didn't want to deal with it. They wanted this to be MLB's problem. You guys made the decision. You banned him. You fix it. We're not going to be the ones that make that call and go against MLB. So they took the easy way out to basically put it back on MLB, saying, "Hey, if you're ineligible, you can't be inducted here." And that was also a twist that Pete never saw coming. He still thought the Hall of Fame was in reach, potentially through the Veterans Committee, until they slammed that door on him.
And it should be. It is the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right.
It's the Baseball Hall of Fame. So if you want to induct the best baseball player from, I don't know, Taiwan, they could, right? It's the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not the American Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. They are two separate things. So whatever the Major League Baseball front office does and what the Hall of Fame does doesn't have to be connected. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a wild story.
Yeah.
It is. If you haven't watched it, you need to. It's worth it. It's 4-hour-long episodes. It goes quick.
And you should read his book too, My Prison Without Bars. It's great, and he tells everything in that book.
Yeah. I mean, it was good. It was really good for me to like go back and watch his career, like on the field career. Because like I said, I'm young enough. I didn't get to see him play. It was absolutely remarkable what that guy did on a field. It was insane.
And the way he changed teams. Like the way he played caused everybody else around him to be better.
Yeah. Absolutely nuts. So, all right. I have a couple other things before we head off for the night. Wednesday night this week was pretty cool for the St. Louis Cardinals organization. They had walk-off wins in all levels of their baseball operation. So MLB had a walk-off win, AAA walk-off win, AA walk-off win, single A, all walk-off wins. So it's kind of cool, all in the same night. Kind of a weird happening, but it was pretty cool to see that. And then this afternoon, the Pirates announced that O'Neal Cruz will see time in center field. So fire the cannons out there. He's going to be unleashing some 155 mile an hour hoses from out there.
So his arm will play well out there. That's for sure.
Yeah. How do you guys feel like he will transition to the outfield there, to the center field?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's athletic. There's no doubt about that. He's got the arm. I mean, we saw Jazz struggled with it, right? So it's not just all about athleticism. Listen, I mean, this guy's a hell of a baseball player. You put him on a baseball field somewhere out there, and I'll watch him play.
Right.
So, if it's going to be entertaining, because if he fails and he doesn't look good, that's going to be entertaining in itself. So, whatever the outcome's going to be, I think I don't think it's going to be boring.
No, I mean, I like the Pirates trying to see if they can get some defensive versatility out of him and maybe move him around, because there may be some guys in the minors that need a home. But with Jazz Chisholm, at least you had spring training to get him used to playing the outfield. To just throw O'Neal Cruz in the outfield on August something, whenever he goes out there with no like warm up period, it's a bit of a wild card to how he does, because there's been no chance to settle in. It's like, here you go, kid. You're going out there. Good luck. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he's 6'7". He's going to be able to cover some ground if he gets decent jumps. So maybe, and maybe he has been shagging balls out there during BP. We don't know, but
yeah, who knows?
Should be kind of interesting to see. But all right, that's all I had for this week. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, I don't know if you guys just saw if you saw the highlight yet from Judge tonight, but I just threw the Yankees-Nats game on. And he robbed a home run and then threw the guy out at first, who was, I think, off on the pitch or just maybe read it wrong. I don't know. But went up over the wall, robbed it, and then threw the guy out at first. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, and Jazz Chisholm hit a home run tonight, so he's apparently back.
Yeah, that was
good.
a bomb.
Yeah.
Bomb.
Crazy.
I got nothing else.
I got two real quick ones for you. One is we actually had an umpire leave a game yesterday after getting hit with a broken bat.
Concussion, right? I saw.
Broke the bat. The bat actually came all the way around, left behind him, hit the umpire like in the neck, lower kind of the head area. Concussion took the umpire out of the game. That's a wild, scary situation. And then the Chicago White Sox, the record-setting Chicago White Sox, lost their 100th game, and they are the second fastest team to lose 100 games, behind only the 1916 Philadelphia A's. They continue to set records. I mean, not good records, but they're records. And they need to go 12-19 to avoid tying the 1962 New York Mets for the worst record of all time.
They ain't doing that.
I don't think they can do it. So 12-19 down the way. 12-19, they would be one game better than the Mets.
So they go 11-20. They tie.
They tie.
All right.
Yikes.
The Mets were 40-120 that season.
40-120.
Yep. Pretty bad.
Yikes. I can't believe fans actually still go to those games. Where are you going to get a $10 hot dog? Why else would you go there?
You're going to see the road teams, I think. There's no reason to go watch the White Sox play. That's for sure.
Man,
that team is terrible.
Wild. I want to see him get the record.
I do.
I mean, why not?
I want to see them go like 0-30 the rest of the way.
That's what I was going to say. If you're going to do it, if you're going to be off the walls, right?
Yeah, come on, Grady Sizemore, get it done.
Yeah, go like 2-28 in the final 30 and just make it so that no one will ever have a worse season than you.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, until next season
when they go like if they win 2 of their final games, that would give them how many wins? How many wins do they have right now?
31. So it's I think it's like 31, right?
I don't know. I should look.
It's not good.
They have 31. Yeah, they're 31 and 100. Buddy, if they win 2 or 3 games for the rest of the year and they finish with 33 or 34 wins, I can guarantee you we will never see another team worse than this. It's just not possible.
No, baseball says it's impossible, right? Because it's fluky. Yeah. You can lose a game or win a game by a fluke. Like
I agree.
Do it with flying colors. If you're gonna do it.
If you're gonna do it, just do it big.
Yes.
Yep, I agree.
Just forfeit the rest of the season.
Let's go on. Let's go on a 30-game losing streak. Come on, boys. You can do it. We know you can.
Man, that's wild. But all right. Well, that does it for us this week. Thanks for joining us in the chat, helping out with trivia and all of that. We will be back on next Monday at 8 p.m. But before you go, make sure you like and follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram, can subscribe on YouTube, can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be back on at 8 p.m. Eastern